All right, it's that time for Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. How you feeling, Breezy?
Oh man, this is a wonderful day. It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. And how about yourself today?
I'm feeling great. I feel like it's good to be back doing our thing. It's been a while, but we're here now.
Absolutely. And so in a matter of speaking, we never even left. But
Right.
because of the vibe. But yes, I understand completely. A new set, a new circumstance, and we're right here. Never even skipped a beat.
I love it. So, for today, since it's our first show that we've done in a while, I just kind of wanted to put people on to futuristic hip-hop soul. It's a new instrumental album that I released this summer, and, I just kind of want to share the good vibes and stuff with you for this show, if that's all right.
Oh man, that sounds great. I mean, I'm looking forward to this. I know a lot of folks out there, they're looking forward to this. And, it's the beginning of a new legacy that's being created right here. And that's step one. So might as well keep the flow going.
All right, let's go. right? Just gave you a little sneak peek. We'll get back into that a little bit later. But it's been some crazy times and stuff that we've been in. I know people have been struggling to remain inspired and whatnot. So I don't know. Hopefully those instrumentals can kind of help get you in the mood and whatnot. But we had been talking before about the different things that people are doing just to kind of stay afloat during all this, as far as online shows. But the live music industry is kind of struggling right now, right?
Yes, it really is, from point A all the way to point Z. There are a lot of musicians, music is their craft. Music is their life. And because of our situation that's taken place with coronavirus, that's shutting a lot of venues down, has shut and closed a lot of venues. So places that musicians normally would flock to, they're just not open and running anymore. And so, that brings about a lot of fear. It brings a lot of frustration, because the daily and weekly routines have been kind of, they've just gone haywire, you think?
Right, yeah. And, especially, there's a certain energy that you get as a creator when you perform in front of a live crowd, in front of the audience. You get to feed off of them enjoying you, and that just kind of, helps rev you up to be able to create more. So it's definitely, been a blow to many artists and performing artists. But, hopefully with the Save Our Stages act that they've been working on, trying to get passed, to get grant money to keep some of these venues open, so that way, we do have a place to come back to once, the pandemic is over. One of the big factors that they're trying to get rid of the hurdle of applying for loans, and instead just asking, the government to make these grants available. Because once life does get back to normal, people are going to need to escape. They're going to need to see those live shows. They're going to need to come hang out, and just vibe.
Agreed. And, that's a far-reaching topic, because even with our young folks, many of our young folks, I'm an example, because my mom had me taking piano lessons when I was 5 years old. Okay, and routinely, once a month, we would have performances and recitals, to which all of us young kids would have the opportunity to play a song in front of a crowd. And so even at the young age, that was preparing us for being in front of crowds and being around other groups of people. But right now, that's just been curtailed, shut down. And so, we just got to be hopeful that there's going to be a way around all of this, and we just got to be hopeful and seek. Now, technology, as you were saying, is making a lot of things happen, giving some opportunities to come about, and so why don't you just dig a little bit deeper into what you just mentioned about the technology allowing musicians to flow forward?
Oh, well, absolutely. One of the biggest things that's been very popular is the versus battles that Timbaland and Achickwitbeatz have been doing between, initially started with producers and, kind of expanded into the world of performers as well. But, they were drawing such high numbers that everybody was trying to get a piece of that. And then they finally did strike a deal with Apple, but they still opted to keep it free for people to, be able to check it out. And then you can catch the rebroadcast there. But, instead of letting the stations, because initially they were getting attention from them, because they, of course, want to monetize it when you see all these high numbers of, hundreds of thousands of people watching, this music go live. So, that's definitely one thing. DJs and stuff doing live sets on Instagram. There's lots of ways, because people are home. They actually have the time to, check out stuff that they probably wouldn't have before. So even as artists, to be able to live stream Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all these different outlets, even Twitter now. To be able to live stream, you can reach an audience that of a larger level that you may not have pre-pandemic. So yeah, that's definitely one. Another huge thing is with Travis Scott apparently having like these astronomical, no pun intended, record numbers doing a stream during Fortnite. So apparently, that was something. So now they're looking at having artists do different performances, live in gaming, in the gaming world. And we're seeing these sectors trying to work harder to kind of merge to be able to take advantage of this gap that's been created by the pandemic.
There's no limit. There's totally no limit, and so I'm glad that we're able to scratch the surface, and actually just barely scratching the surface. The shift from the live, which, is very, very hard to beat, but, people have been clawing at every opportunity, every way that they possibly can to keep the flow going. And the technology is allowing that to happen in many different ways. And as far as the battles with the DJs and artists being free, that's a great thing, because at a time like this, why punish music lovers and followers around the world? And it was a smooth move to allow those to be free. So a lot more access can be obtained with no money. At least give people a reason to smile. Give people a reason to laugh and enjoy without leaving their own home, and then have access to it right there in their environment.
Absolutely. And speaking of giving people reasons to smile, let's get back to some more of these instrumentals.
Sounds good.
back. We've been talking about what it's been like during the pandemic for artists and creators. And, we were speaking earlier about, being able to remain creative. I'd also just like to say this is a good time, too, for, the grindaholics and whatnot to actually be able to step back and take a look at your strategy. If you're not feeling the whole creative vibes right now, there are other things that you could be focusing on as far as, deciding how you want your career to go and, any future plans that you might see coming down the road once things do open back up. Don't you agree?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And that helps to aid that energy, that unity, that stick-to-itiveness. And one thing about it, musicians can find a way. Music lovers can find a way, and they are. Okay, so shut down on one side, other doors open up. There's that old saying, when one door shuts, maybe even as many as 12 other doors might open up somewhere else. And so to be right there on the front line, to realize that this door is shut down or the venue is shut down. And yes, that's brought about a lot of frustration and sadness, but it's opened up a whole different horizon that folks maybe not realize was there. And, the movement is still moving. The movement is still moving.
Absolutely. And, there's been a greater range of, online educational information available for artists. I know Bandzoogl's been doing pretty good with having the webinars and whatnot. So, there's other sides to creativity than just creating. It's also, educating yourself about the music industry and, different things that are happening and understanding how to be able to monetize your gift and make sure that you're doing everything you can to maximize what you should be getting off of the work that you put in.
Yes. And so now, one thing that cannot be removed from the face of the earth is the fact that musicians still can practice. Musicians still are practicing. They may be receiving some frustration, as I alluded to, as far as being in front of the crowd, but that has nothing to do whatsoever about sharpening their craft. Okay, and so no matter what realm it is, whether it's by voice or by instrument, I'm sure, just like you are, there's some concerts going on right now that are solo concerts that nobody even hears except the musicians that are incredible, and that excites me, knowing that right around the corner that we'll all be able to actually witness and hear some of this creativity that's being laid down all over the world. What you think?
Absolutely. And that's a great point, because sometimes you can get kind of bogged down in, everything that's happening, all this constant news being, fed to us, and it's not, most of it isn't positive, but, music really does have a therapeutic effect. And so as long as you're steadily trying to, improve your craft or stay sharp, it's really important to keep at it. And you're right, it doesn't matter, who's looking. If nobody's looking, some of the best concerts might happen in the shower for vocalists and whatnot. But, just always steadily striving to become a better version than you were the day before or whatnot. It's a powerful thing. I 100% agree with that.
Yes, because practice makes perfect. And so when a musician is in a grind of rehearsing songs to perform on a weekend, and then if they get stuck in a cycle sometimes, the practice time is limited because there's a lot of travel in there, whether it's across the road or across town. There's all kinds of things that a musician encounters or a singer encounters on a 7-day cycle, okay, or on a 30-day cycle. But see, now that's opening up, and a lot of the time that will be spent in that cycle is being spent in rehearsing. And I'm sure a lot of folks are discovering their inner self these days. Their inner selves, where they say, "Oh, wow, well, I'm putting more time in it, and now I'm being able to reach notes that I wasn't able to reach before. I'm able to make drum beats or licks on a guitar or whatever with a keyboard that 5 months ago that they didn't envision themselves doing." And so maybe seeing the progression of self-enhancement, so I'm telling you, when things start opening up, there's going to be some higher levels of relevance with a lot of musicians and singers.
Absolutely. There's several ways to still win right now in the midst of all this. I 100% agree. So, we're going to dip back into the album a little bit, Futuristic Hip Hop Soul by Achickwitbeatz. we are back. Just a shout out to, our listeners. And thank you for hanging with us so far. Just in case you are new to Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson, one of the big things that we are about is connecting and networking with artists, highlighting talent, from all over the globe. So, if you feel that you've got what it takes and you want to share your talent with the world, please feel free to get in touch with us. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're always looking to highlight new talent. So make sure you reach out to us because we'd love to have you as a guest on the show.
And we're going to start back our worldwide IG shout-out list because we had that flowing pretty darn strong. Just giving some accolades to folks around the globe who took the time to listen in and jive with and vibe with us. And so, that IG call-out, that's going to be initiating back again real soon.
Yes. Because, that's one of the things. So there's a lot of talented people that don't necessarily have the platforms that they deserve to be recognized. So, that's something that we work really hard at and trying to make sure that we can get the right listeners to you. So, if you yourself are an artist or if you know someone, please reach out.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we may have a few that chime in before this segment is over of our show. So just stick with us because, and I must take a moment to give you some accolades, Achickwitbeatz, because in the daily realm, weekly realm, I don't know of anyone who has been educating the masses with news, with tips, with info concerning music industry, whether it be small or large. And there have been some moves that have been made constantly, let alone in the last 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months. And you've been right there at the forefront, didn't slow down. If anything, you picked up providing the education that singers, musicians, hip-hop artists, classical artists, people from all kinds of genres, every genre, need to, this is information that when you bring it, it'll make a person stop completely just to say, hey, I didn't know this, or I didn't know that. Well, do you realize that? Okay, and so what I'm saying to our listeners, zone into Achickwitbeatz because she is not slacking off on bringing educational information about companies, about systems, about situations, and all of these types of these bits of data are just all inclusive as far as making the person more aware of what's going on in the music industry, and you're without peer in doing that. So just got to give you your accolades for doing that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's something I've been passionate about. It's an old Nietzsche quote to where he says they muddy the water to make it seem deep, and I feel like that's a rampant thing in the music industry. It's, using all these different terms or whatever to make things more confusing, because that actually allows more people to be able to take advantage of artists if they can confuse them and keep them from understanding what's happening, and it's easier to separate them from their money. So
the key phrase. Okay, I think, and I got to repeat that. It's making it easier for some of these folks to separate people from their money.
Absolutely, because as the artist, you're the one putting in the time, the work, and all that. So, the more that they can confuse you, then, they can separate the artist from the money. So, I'm passionate about trying to enlighten people so that way, it'll be less easy for them to be taken advantage of.
So zone in. We're telling you, zone in, spread the word about what's going on. Now, the music that you're putting together, that you have put together with this album, it's just knockout. It's just knockout. It's just a knockout, and it makes people it comes in many different ways. It can either hit you in the face like a bucket of cold water, or it can kind of creep up on you. Okay, you say, "Oh my goodness, this is really good." So, can you share a little bit about, if not in this segment, the next segment, share a little bit about some of the vibes that you entered into when composing this music?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'd like to say that, so I don't want to date myself by giving too much information, but as a product of 80s and 90s hip hop, there was a time where it blended so well with R&B. And so, you just had this soulful vibe to it, or, even the hip hop music was sampling 70s soul and whatnot. So everything just kind of flowed together so well. And so with futuristic hip hop soul, I wanted to capture the elements that gave you that nostalgia of, like the 80s, 90s hip hop, R&B type jams, but with some modern sounds, so that way, it doesn't feel dated, but it just feels like something, that's been a part of you, but still fresh at the same time. So, I titled it Futuristic Hip Hop Soul because I believe that in itself should be a genre, because, as my generation ages, we tend to get more and more nostalgic, and you're seeing a lot of people trying to gravitate back towards, what we loved in the beginning. And so I actually do see that as a futuristic movement, because, some of the I guess, cookie cutter, radio ready sounds aren't, the type of stuff that'll stick to your wrist. It's something, kind of dance to or whatever, have fun for the moment, but it's not something that you make memories with. And that's what I'm trying to achieve with futuristic hip hop soul. That's the vibe.
Futuristic hip hop and soul. Oh my. Well, hey, and having said that, we're going to kind of ease on out of the way, and so we'll let our listeners hear a little bit more of this great music from Achickwitbeatz.
All right, and that wraps up Futuristic Hip Hop Soul. I really appreciate you checking it out. And, this is basically our time for Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. So, I want to thank y'all for rocking with us. What do you have to say to the lovely listeners?
Well, now, I'd be remiss if I did not mention for all of the listeners to share, to tell, to talk, to text, to tweet, wherever the platforms are that you're on, mention this great music from this great artist, Achickwitbeatz, because she has put the homework in, but she's putting the time in and the effort, and the end results are just spectacular. So whether it takes getting hit in the face with a bucket of cold water, or whether the music is creeping up on you and you say, wow, this is grabbing me. Either way, share that with your friends across all types of platforms and media that you are in. I give my accolades to you, Achickwitbeatz, with all that I've got, because of the end production is really great.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So, that wraps it up for this episode of Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson, and we will see you soon. Keep it locked.